Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about sun and constellation. So before we proceed further in this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, share, and also comment down below. So let's get started. So before we talk about sun and constellation, the most important thing here is, where do these things belong? They belong into space. So the first thing we're supposed to know or learn is about space. So how do you define and describe space? So what is space? So space is actually the name that we give to the region which is beyond our planet Earth. So outside of Earth means beyond Earth. The whole region, even if we don't know what it is, how much long it exists or extend, it is just described as space. Defined as space. How do we describe space? We describe space by calling it as a vacuum because obviously it's a vacuum. You cannot describe it as anything else. It's just like an empty plain vacuum. So let's get started with learning about our sun. So sun, how do you describe sun? So sun is a star, and it is a great and glowing ball of hydrogen and helium gas. So it is 6,000 degrees Celsius. So if this is the inside part, then it will be 6,000 degrees Celsius. Let me just write that for you. And not only our planet Earth, well, all the planets in the solar system have a core. So they have a core which is the same, but you can imagine that sun is not like our planet. It is very, very hot. So if you measure it on the outside, it will be 6,000 degrees Celsius. But if you go near the extreme, or you could just say if you go near this part, the core, you would get it about 15 million degrees Celsius. That's very hot. Now, you guys must be wondering that we have read in books that sun is very important for our planet. We can't live without it. And you guys must be wondering that it is a ball of hydrogen and helium gas. We don't even need them. Well, I just mentioned it's a ball of hydrogen and helium gas. But if there's no sun, we can't live without it because it consists of oxygen. Like whenever you purify or do something with it, the oxygen comes from it. So you must be wondering that sun is basically a great ball of hydrogen and helium gas, as I mentioned. But you must be wondering that we don't even need hydrogen or helium. Then why is it so important for us? So it is very important for us because even though it has a nuclear fusion in it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't produce oxygen. The sun can actually at a very least, or someday it will produce atoms of all elements, up to even including oxygen. So in basically one day, okay, even though it has the nuclear fusion in it, one day it will still produce the atoms of all elements and even including oxygen. And do you know in terrestrial chemistry, at least, when you combine oxygen, hydrogen, and a small amount of heat, you get water. That's true. So you must know in science or chemistry, if you have learned, if you combine CO2 and you add it with a bit of hydrogen, which is H2, and then you combine it with an amount of heat. So there's no symbol for heat. We'll just sort of make heat. So it's right. You combine it with a bit of heat, then guess what? You get water. So even though it produces hydrogen and helium, it doesn't mean that it's not useful. Here you go. I have written a mini definition so that you guys can understand it better. Now let's proceed to myth bursting time. So first of all, we have learned in school that sun is a ball of fire. Is that right? I'm asking you guys, I'm asking everyone here, is it right? No, it's wrong. It is not a ball of fire at all. Because if it's a ball of fire, then as we learned before here, that if we combine these stuff, we get water and we need oxygen. So if it was a ball of fire, then how would we even survive? Right? So it is not a ball of fire. Next is that the earth in ancient people used to say that earth is bigger than the sun. So is this true, my friends? Never. How can the earth possibly be bigger than the sun? Right? Next. Because if it was bigger than the sun, then how would we even get used, or how would it would even be useful to get the sunlight? So this is wrong. Next, the sun is out of the Milky Way. It means that it's not in the Milky Way. So my friend, oops, it's sun here. Okay. So sun, is it out of our Milky Way galaxy? Again, no, it's not. Because if we take a diagram of a Milky Way galaxy, so the first thing is that you must be studying planets, right? So you guys know if this is the solar system orbit, and then here is the sun in the middle, and here are all the planets which are revolving around it. And this is our sun. Let me just go. So how could the sun possibly be out of the Milky Way? No, then how would we even know the sun exists? Because we live in the Milky Way and the sun is out of the Milky Way. How would we even get heat and light? So this myth is wrong. Totally, very, very wrong. The next myth, the sun will not last forever. That's a myth. The sun will not last forever. So my friends, tell it, is it true or not? Well, I'm sorry to tell, but it is true. The sun will not last forever, actually. In about 5 billion years after, it's gonna finish because it's running out of its fuel. As I mentioned, it's a star and all stars have to run out of their fuel. So even the sun is our star. So it's running out of fuel, and after 5 billion years, I'm very sorry, all my friends, it will be finished and become into a white dwarf star. So let's go to everyone's favorite, constellations. So as you know, constellations are very pretty things to watch. Especially you get very lucky once you have constellations, because constellations are very pretty. And not only constellations, the fun part here is that all of us have constellations, like we are Leo, some are Taurus, some are Aquarius, some are Aries, some are Pisces, some are Capricornus, some are Sagittarius. So let's get started with our fun part. So the first thing, as usual, is that how do you describe a constellation or define it? So what is constellation? It is a pattern of stars, actually. So it's just a pattern of stars. which form in the night sky. Now, so next thing is that, do you know our ancient astronomers, they found that constellations were actually very easy to recognize than individual stars. Individual means single stars. So whenever you look in the sky clearly, then it would be very easy for you to recognize a constellation, and it will be very hard to recognize a very individual star because you don't know. You can't see closely unless you don't have a big telescope, but with your naked eyes, you can see slowly and recognize it. So that is why ancient astronomers found out that the constellations were actually very easy to recognize. Now we are going to talk about constellations. So, do constellations change shape? No. Everyone might think like that, right? But the answer is yes. But it takes millions of years for the Earth to orbit in the center of the Milky Way. So our planet travels through space and we slowly get a different view of stars. So that's a very important thing. Yes, constellations do change shape. Now, about like 100,000 years ago, do you know the plow shape, right? The plow constellation. It actually looked like this. I'm gonna try to draw it for you guys, so that you can understand it better. So it looked like this, and then it went like, and then it went like this, and then it went like this, and then this, and then it sort of went like this, and then finally the two steps came for our planet to sort of get demolished here. It's gonna get a bit complicated here to draw stuff. So this is, it looked like this, if you know the, what do I say, the plow one. Are you guys familiar with the plow constellation? Are you? I'm not sure if you guys know. Well, you can go search it on Google later, but for now, let's continue. So it looked like this before. Actually, after like a, before like in 100,000 years ago, it looked like this. But now, when you observe very carefully in the night sky, it sort of looks like a kite. So here you go, guys. I'm gonna draw it. So it sort of looks like this, and then it goes like, and then it goes like this. Well, and then it goes like that. And then it sort of makes like a kite pattern by going straight and then again straight. And then finally like this. So you guys can observe the change in the, this thing. Like now it's like, this is the now, okay? Now it's like this, but you can see that before like 100,000 years ago, it was like this, and now it's like this. So that's a huge difference. So you can say that the constellations change shapes. So let me just get this erased for you, and let's proceed further. Now, next, what are the signs of zodiac? Well, everyone knows what is zodiac. So the Earth actually, how do you get to know, or how do you see the zodiac? So when the Earth actually orbits the sun, like, you know, orbiting the sun, each year, So do you know we see different constellations? We see actually different constellations and different times of the year. So in the autumn you see another, in spring you see something else, in winter you see something else, while in summer something else. So that is why you can say that the constellations are different each time of the year. They're not the same. Next, well, you guys must be asking, what are the called who are called the signs of zodiac? So zodiac actually means what? What does it mean? I'll tell you. It means the circle of animals. So because if you count, or if you have a zodiac chart and you count all the signs, most of the signs are of animals. Let me get it for you. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 7 signs for the animals. So you have 7 signs for the animals, and then you have 3 signs for humans. So 3 signs for humans. And last but not the least, you have 2 signs for the things. So 7 animals are Capricornus, Scorpius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Cancer, and Leo. And 3 humans are Sagittarius, which is a bow and arrow man standing with it. Then the next one is a Virgo, which means beautiful girl. And Gemini means best friends. And the 2 things over here, which are left, are our Aquarius, which is a pot of water falling down, and Libra, which is a weighing scale. So next, what is astrology? So astrology is about basically something. Do you know what is it? It actually claims to predict future. Yes, astrology is a subject that in which actually you can claim to predict the future. But while you study astronomy, you can use your brain and claim that you can predict futures using the positions of planets. And then astrologers actually believe that the planets may signal good or bad luck as they move in each sign of the zodiac. So suppose, let's get our example diagram time. So suppose this is planet, this is just planet A, okay? Okay, gosh, no one knows what's planet A. Let's see. This is Venus, I guess. No, this is Mars. This is Mars. And what do they mean here is that Mars, whenever it goes to a constellation, let's just take that this is a constellation. I'm just drawing it, okay? It's a constellation. So let's finish drawing it. So this is a constellation. So here they're telling that suppose this planet Mars, okay? It goes to a constellation, like revolves around it for some time, and then it just goes back. So the astronomers actually think that this may cause either good, or it may either cause bad luck while revolving around it, each sign of the zodiac. Now, next, you guys must be wondering that most of the time we don't see it. So how do we see it? First reason, go get a telescope right now. And if you can't, then go visit a nearby planetarium. Do you know what's that? It's not a museum, okay? It's not a museum of planets. Planetarium is actually a place where you can see stars and planets projected onto the outside of a large dome. So, like, if this is you have a big dome here, and actually, this is the outside sky where you have stars and planets and stuff. And inside there are many people. And they're in the between, they have like a sort of like a telescope thing. I'm not very good at drawing. They have a telescope attached here. So after they're done with the telescope work, they keep it here, and you can get your turn one by one watching in the sky, and you can see very cool objects. And plus, don't worry about mosquito stuff, right? It's like you are inside a dome which has ACs, and you can go visit it. And it's like whenever you sit there, you actually feel like you're sitting out in the night sky. You're watching the night sky without even sitting out, like in the mosquito and on the grass. You are sitting inside a cool AC dome. So go try to visit one time, and do share me your pictures about wherever you visited or whichever planetarium you visited. Now, next question here is that, are the stars in each constellation the same distance from the Earth? No, that is extremely wrong. They are not the same distance from the Earth. Because some stars may be few light years away, while some may be like 100 or even 1,000 light years away. So if you see an Orion constellation, I guess you guys might be familiar with the Orion constellation. So suppose you see an Orion constellation, okay? It sort of looks like this. As I mentioned, I'm not good in drawing. So it sort of looked like this, and then it's like an house. So this is the Orion constellation. So here is a very special thing about it, is that this is 1 point, this is 1 point, here's one, and here's one. So let me just show you. We divide this constellation into 3 parts. So the first part is the Betelgeuse. Here you go, the Betelgeuse. So what is this? Where is it located? This is called the Betelgeuse. This star is known as the Betelgeuse. Next is the Rigel. Here is the Rigel. So Rigel is located right here. This, okay? And the next star is the most important, the Orion Nebula, right? The Orion Nebula is a star which is located right here. This is called the Orion Nebula. Orion. So this is the Orion Nebula. So the fun fact here is that actually these stars look the same distance, but they're actually not. Do you know that the Betelgeuse, when you observe closely, Betelgeuse is not here. It's like not close this much. You have to use like very, it's going to be very hard for you to recognize that they're not close. They're actually very far away. So when Betelgeuse is actually from the constellation that is actually 586 light years away. So that's a huge distance. So It's here, but it's very far away. So you gotta like measure it from very far away. It's 586 light years away from the constellation, this star. The next star is the Rigel, and it is about 880 light years away from this constellation. And last but not the least, the Orion Nebula is about 1,600 light years away from this constellation. So you have to predict, and it is true that these stars do look close from the Earth, but they're actually very, very far away from the Earth and from their constellation as well. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you like my video, and as usual, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and keep watching Explore and Experience in Space. Bye.